Somewhere in the valleys of Patagonia, Chile, a young girl sat by the river with her mother and father.
What is going to happen now, Mama?
We don't know yet, Maria.
We might lose this river. We might lose this forest.
Why?
They say we must give way for progress.
A few months ago, several men from the city came to tell them the good news. Your town will be a site of progress. The project, they claimed, is the answer to the country's growing demand for electricity. No more power outages, they said. Their village in Lautaro will be a part of a development project. The hydropower plant is a joint venture between the government and a large corporation. But soon, Maria's parents learned what it meant. The project will flood around 5,900 hectares of forests, river valleys, and agricultural land. Chile's megadam project is not the first of its kind. In Cameroon, Nepal, the Philippines, India, and United States, and in many other places across the globe, people face threats to their communities in the name of development programs, usually involving the private sector. Because of the negative experience of many communities with the practices of businesses, especially multinational corporations, civil society has been finding ways to deal with private sector and development. Organizations under the CSO Partnership for Development Effectiveness, or CPDE, asked all development actors to ensure that the private sector adheres to development effectiveness principles and standards for human rights, labor, and transparency and accountability. More specifically, CPDE urged businesses to abide by guidelines set by the International Labour Organization, the United Nations, and the OECD. CPDE asserts that states should play the central role in providing public goods and services and universal social protection. Concretely, CPDE proposes ending development financing for businesses that privatize basic social services, undermine people's livelihood, and increases inequality. Further, CPDE calls on governments and civil society to work together to ensure the highest standards for transparency and accountability. CPDE advocates the protection of communities' development rights and the promotion of small and medium-sized enterprises and local entrepreneurs in support of national industrialization. Finally, CPDE demands the strengthening of labor protection and the promotion of the right to collective bargaining, trade union formation, and collective action. CPDE, in its various roles in the Global Partnership for Effective Development Cooperation, engaged in the development of the Kampala Principles on effective private sector engagement in development cooperation. Endorsed by the Steering Committee of the Global Partnership in Kampala, Uganda in March 2019, the 5 principles are: Principle 1. Inclusive country ownership, strengthening coordination, alignment, and capacity building at the country level. Principle 2. Results and targeted impact, realizing sustainable development outcomes through mutual benefits. Principle 3. Inclusive partnership, fostering trust through inclusive dialogue and consultation. Principle 4. Transparency and accountability, measuring and disseminating sustainable development results for learning and scaling up of successes. Principle 5. Leave no one behind, recognizing, sharing, and mitigating risks for all partners. CPDE welcomed the development of the Kampala Principles as a step towards a more effective and accountable engagement of the private sector in development cooperation. However, it remains critical of responding to sustainable development problems with market solutions. CPDE asserts that GPEDC must assess the implementation and implications of the Kampala Principles' voluntary nature, the pursuit of blended finance, and other arrangements consistent with development effectiveness principles, labor, accountability, and other international human rights standards. CPDE acknowledges the significant role the private sector can play in development and development cooperation, but experience shows this is far from reality. In the end, only through genuine changes in communities can such standards as the Kampala Principles have real meaning. In 2011, Maria joined her parents and dozens of others from their small village in the streets of Koihake to protest the project. The mobilizations grew bigger and bigger. By June 2014, the government scrapped the project. This story has a happy ending. But for countless others, the struggle continues to make development serve the people. CPDE then continues to engage in the advocacy inspired by the vision of villages like Maria's someday enjoying this possibility.